to the special edition of the Military Wire with Mike Schindler. I am Mike Schindler, and this is the Vision 2020 Speaker Series, where we interview some of America's most elite men and women who have served this country, and we share their stories of overcoming in hopes that you, our audience, and our listener will gain this aha moment that you can apply to your own life. So excited about today's episode. I also want to say that today's episode is sponsored by my friend Tim Cruikshank and his team over at Bone Frog Cellars. Bone Frog Cellars is a premier wine that the proceeds go to honor the heroes of our fallen SEALs and their family members. So excited that they are our sponsors this episode. So is it okay to still love America? Boy, this seems to be a hot topic, especially right before an election and everything that's going on with that. And if so, the ones on the right suggest it's their America, and the ones on the left suggest it's their America. And we want to figure out how we get back to this principle that we share in the military, which is one team, one fight. So to help us unpack this is one of my favorite guests, to be honest with you guys. Sean Parnell, and who at the age of 24, he accomplished things that I hadn't even accomplished at the age of 24. He was named as a commander of a 40-man elite infantry platoon known as the Outlaws. And he was tasked with rooting out some pretty bad people along the Pakistan border, based insurgents along the Afghanistan eastern border, So he's a New York Times bestseller. His book, Outlaw Platoon, kind of shares that gripping tale and kind of the history of his platoon, which is awesome. And it really shaped Sean's life. And so we'll probably dig into that a little bit. But then he got into this fiction writing, and it was pretty impressive. And I got to tell you, if you've not read his books, you need to read his books. Man of War came out in 2018, and it was praised from Booklist. Awesome praise. Then he came out with another book, All Out War, in 2019. And now he's got another book, which is just amazing, called One True Patriot, One True Patriot, and we'll get into that too. And I could keep going on about Sean because he's a favorite of mine, but I'm not gonna keep going on. Sean, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate being here again. I mean, this is great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, 100%. Well, we'll dive into your books because your books are amazing, and for those who have read them, I know that they love them, and for me, I totally appreciate reading them. And it's a true page turner for sure. But, first of all, I want to congratulate you on your talk at the RNC. You did a stellar job on that. Great to see you up there. Great to see you representing veterans who want to be part of the solution. I love that piece of it. I think that's so important. I also want to say that you got close to 5 minutes on that stage.
I did. I can't believe it, but I did. Yeah.
Yeah. You got like 5 minutes, which AOC got like a minute and 42 minutes or 42 seconds or whatever. So, I'm not saying anything there, but what I loved about your talk is you talk about the military brotherhood and one of the reasons why we fight and, are willing to serve on front lines. But I want to talk about this thing about loving the country. What does it mean to you to love the country today? Because it's so different than it was even 20 years ago. So what does it really mean to love this country today, Sean?
Boy, that's so true. I guess I'll answer that question by talking about the people in the country. Running for political office, right? And I know this isn't a political show, and I'm not trying to be political, but I love the people of this country. I love getting an opportunity to meet them. I love getting an opportunity to talk to them. And guess what? Even if they think things that are different than me, and I think that's just because I'm comfortable in my views and my principles, and I know where I stand on the issues. But also, I led an infantry platoon in Afghanistan, as you talked about. And one of the things that was remarkable to me about that experience is, we weren't all of one mindset. We came from all different walks of life. And if we didn't join the military or the army at that given time in history, we would have probably passed each other on the street and never given each other a second thought, but we were so different, there's 6 of my guys that weren't citizens, black serving next to white, Christians next to atheists. Rich next to poor, Northerners next to Southerners, Democrats next to Republicans. It didn't matter. Yeah. We all found a way to make it work. We all found a way to look past our many differences and unite as a unit, a formidable infantry unit in Afghanistan. And I'm telling you right now, and I know you know this, but had we not figured out a way to do that, then we would have perished on some remote hilltop on the Afghan-Pakistan border, no doubt about it. And that for me was a leadership lesson. And really, that's what I try to talk about, Mike, at the RNC. And by the way, I mean, you know me well enough to know that those were my words. That's my story. And I was allowed to craft that message. The President Trump allowed me to write my own speech, craft my own message. Nobody told me what to say. And, you know, I feel like it wasn't your typical convention speech where there's lots of red meat bomb throwing. My whole point was trying to bring people together. Yeah. My whole point, I talked to tens of thousands of people, of Democrats. There are tens of thousands of Democrats here in this district that aren't sure about Republicans, but feel like their party's too radical. Well, hey, stand with us. You know, we'd love to have you. So I was just trying to bring people together. I'm so glad that it resonated.
Well, and it did. And I think that the reason it resonated, and I love what you say about that, is, you know, there was a piece that you said that is so true, that our differences don't have to divide us. And I think that's something we've talked about oftentimes on this show, that, you know, in the country today, oftentimes our differences are dividing us, when in fact there should be the discussion, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that was your point, is, you know, in the military, our differences don't divide us. You know, we really are this one team, one fight. So how do we get back to that, though, Sean, as a country? How do we get there? I mean, it's so divided. So and you're one that says, hey, listen, you know, yes, I'm running on this party line, but, you know, I want to hear you, and I want to represent you, and I want to be a part of the solution, and I'll listen. But how do we get that message communicated throughout, so that the nation becomes one nation and not a divided nation? Because I got to believe we're probably a divided nation at this point.
Well, we are. I think that the answer to your question is leadership, and not just me, but people on both sides of the aisle that are willing to put their country before their political party, or put their country even before maybe sometimes maybe even their own personal belief system. It's all, I mean, to me, this job is about doing what's best for the people in the country. You know, and that doesn't mean, by the way, that doesn't mean I'm not principled. It doesn't mean that I'm not set in where I'm at. But part of this job is not just showing up where people agree with you, but also showing up where people don't, and doing everything you can to meet in the middle, come to consensus, and do what's best on behalf of the American people, right? And what I talk about all around the district, you know, I'm not a politician. Do you know how I even found my way into this, Mike? I didn't have my sights set on this congressional seat. I got called out randomly by the president to run in October of 2019. I wasn't even there. Never met him or talked to him, but he called me out to run for Congress, and I get a call from my mom. She's like yelling at me. You know, I'm down in South Carolina giving a service dog to a veteran, and she's like, Sean, are you running for Congress? And I said, Ma, no, I'm not running for Congress. She said, well, the president of the United States says you're running for Congress. And I said, well, I guess I'm running for Congress now. So what I tell people around the district is, like, I can make you a promise, and that's, we won't always agree on every issue, but that doesn't matter. Who says that we need to? My own family around the Thanksgiving dinner table can't come to an agreement on anything. But we're all part of the same American family. We don't always have to agree, but we're all in this together. And so that's been my message around the district. It seems to be resonating. And that was my message on stage at the RNC. And that also seems to be resonating. I mean, I can't believe the feedback that I've gotten on that speech. I just can't believe it. I mean, I'll be in the grocery store everywhere. I'm not used to this, but you know, everywhere I go, people are like, I heard your speech at the convention. Thank you. This was amazing. Thank you. And so I'm just overwhelmed by the experience, for sure.
Yeah, well, I think it's awesome, and I, you know, I'm kind of going off script a little bit, but I want to know how you get it all done. I mean, here you are, a best-selling author. You've written 3 books that are amazing. You've got, you know, you've got AWI, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. You're running for Congress. How do you do it all? You got three kids, you're a dad. I mean, come on, people are busy, but
Yeah.
dude, you're like on hyper busy.
I don't know. Good time management skills, I guess. I was lucky. I feel like I got the book turned in. I mean, I got the book turned in before I started running. So the president called me out in October, right? At the end of October. One True Patriot was turned in the editing process. So the lion's share of the bulk of the writing was already done. I think it was in January. I was going back through the book and making sure the edits were complete, typos were non-existent, and just battening down the hatches on the story all the way around. But it was pretty much done. The real challenge is book 4. I'm working on writing it now, and I think we're just over 30,000 words, and I'm super excited about how it's coming all together. But doing that in the middle of a political campaign is really challenging, especially if you're doing this job right. And if you're representing the people and doing it the right way, it's a 20-hour-a-day job. And so, it's I've been struggling a lot over the last 10 months, to be honest with you. Like, I feel like I'm not spending the time that I need to spend with my kids. I mean, I am. And you know what? They come with me on the campaign trail, and it's funny, like, they like it, they're into it. And I think it's a good life lesson for them, because I think what they're seeing, regardless of where they come down in life with their political belief system, I think they see, and they're starting to learn, that freedom has to be fought for. There's no guarantee that they're going to inherit an America as rich with opportunity as you and I knew. And so I think they're starting to see that they need to fight for this country. And I'm excited about that. But you're running a political campaign. You don't have as much time, So it's been challenging in some ways, in ways that I'm not used to, but also rewarding in others. But, like, one of the major lessons that I've learned from all of this is that, like, there's a season for everything. Sometimes, even if you're not running for political office, sometimes, you're just busy at work for 3 months in a row. And sometimes, you gotta put your nose to the grindstone and work real hard during that time. And maybe you're not spending as much time with the kids as you need to during those 3 months. But guess what? You can find time throughout the year to make up for that time. So, the lesson for me is, hey, in life, there's a season for everything. And right now, the season for me is running for Congress, trying to be there for the people, trying to be a good father, integrate my kids into the campaign to the extent that I can. I think, just doing everything I can. I'm trying, right? That counts for something, right? Like, it matters to me. And I talk to them about it. I'll talk to my kids about, hey, look, I'm so sorry I wasn't able to, spend as much time with you today reading or playing Fortnite or whatever it is that the kids like to do. It's just, they don't get as much time in the middle of a political campaign, but because they're integrated in it, they understand. And so at least that's my hope.
Yeah. Well, I think you're doing more than trying. I think you're doing. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, and that's what people have to do, right? And everybody, I think, is kind of struggling to some degree, Sean, right? The last 8 months, 9 months have been confusing for everybody. Everything that we thought was true and real, and everything that, family life and, work, everything that was standard, that's all been flipped upside down, and people are trying to figure it out. And I think, you're doing a great job of doing and including your kids. And I think that is a life lesson for sure. I want to talk about your book series, because this is truly important. Your first book, Man of War, was great. It introduced this character, Steele, tremendous. You and I have talked about this before, but what was kind of that defining moment that you went, you know what, I'm going to write this series? What was it? I mean, what kicked this thing off?
I think it was just, there was a time in Afghanistan where I wasn't sure I was going to make it home. And I said, if I did, I'm going to bust my butt every day to tick items off of that bucket list, things that I want to do. And, a lot of my soldiers, many of my soldiers in my platoon didn't make it home, or went back to Afghanistan a second time, lost their life, were killed in action, never had the opportunity to come home and tick items off of that bucket list. So you know what? I'm going to work hard every day. If somehow by somehow that I make it out of here alive, I'm gonna earn it. I'm gonna live a life worthy of their sacrifice. And so that's really been my rocket fuel. And that was I made the decision in Afghanistan that I'm going to give it a go. And it wasn't easy. I mean, Outlaw Platoon came out in 2012, and Man of War didn't come out until 2018. So learning to write fiction and structure a good story is not easy. I
Yeah.
mean, I had probably 4 cracks at the Eric Steele franchise at the first book that I had to just scrap because I didn't get this. This wasn't right,
Mm.
and it was in the learning process. And so I finally found my stride, and I feel like, Eric Steele is rocking and rolling now for sure.
But Eric Steele is rocking and rolling. I will just say that I love this series. And
Thanks.
I was talking to a friend of mine. I'm like, here's the thing I love about Sean Parnell. I can never write like Sean Parnell. I've got 2 books out, right? They're nonfiction books. Uh, I'm more of an academic. Uh, your detail in these books, like I have to look some of this stuff up, but you get pretty detailed in some of this stuff. And I'm like, how does he know this stuff? This is amazing.
Like my sunglasses perched on her coif. Like, I'm like, what's a different way for me? What's it? Let me like Google the thesaurus, like find a cool word, I just try and you just try to get better with every book. And I love Man of War and All Out War. I love those 2 books. Just every page is action, tons of action.
Yeah.
I feel like the best books have a little bit more. It's what happens when the bullets aren't flying that help make a story feel fulfilling. And that's what I tried to do to sort of fill in, beef up the story in One True Patriot in ways where maybe Steele wasn't getting shot at, if that makes sense. Like try to deepen the character psychology, trying to just take my time with the story, if that makes sense. And that's challenging because you still want to have a page turner, so you can't take your time too much, but you just got to slow it down a little bit so you can build out the characters and the scenes. And I feel like I love my first 2 books, but I feel like One True Patriot is better than both of them. And I just want to get better with every one.
Yeah, and here it is. I mean, One True Patriot is a great book. Sean, I'll say that it was for me a page turner still, and I loved how you carry some of the storylines throughout the book, and how this one goes deeper on a storyline, which I love. I'm not going to give it away, and I love where it takes Eric Steele, and I love the whole scene. And I know our audience is like, you got to describe it, and I don't want to describe it because I don't want to give it away.
I do. I know exactly what you're talking about. I definitely color in that story a little bit more. I tease it out in the first book. You get more in the second, but now there's a story starting to emerge here. And I'm so excited about it. Wait do you see book 4?
Oh gosh, I can't wait for book 4. So, and people can pick up One True Patriot. It's available now. They can get it at Amazon. They can get it. Are there other places they can get it, Sean?
You can get it anywhere books are sold. I mean, that's the mind-blowing thing about this is that it's in every bookstore, and obviously on Amazon, of course, too. But, every indie bookstore in the country should be carrying this book. And I feel like, the first one, I mean, it's a military, the genre is military thriller, but this is not just a military thriller. Like this is, I feel like I've been trying with each book to sort of make the story more mainstream. So there's still, guns blazing action, but Steele isn't like air assaulting out of a helicopter with a rifle and fatigues on and body armor and a helmet. Like this is Eric Steele, who's like more jeans and a t-shirt with a handgun in his, in a holster or something like that. You just want to make it more mainstream with each story. And I think that I accomplished that in One True Patriot.
Oh, you did. And it got my mind thinking too. I mean, it's there's a diner scene that listen, I'm going to throw it out there, but there's a diner scene and I'm like, okay, I wonder, and, sure enough. And I'm like, gosh darn. So you're brilliant at the writing. I just want to say it's a phenomenal book. I'm going to encourage all our readers to pick it up. I've actually got an extra copy. So if one of our readers or one of our listeners or one of our audience members wants to reach out and you tell me something cool, some defining moment in your life that you want to share. And I think it's really cool. I'll send you one of Sean's books. So I'll do that for our audience. But I want to talk about American Warrior Initiatives too, because you do a lot of stuff for veterans still, our brothers and sisters. Talk to us a little bit about that initiative.
Well, 8 years ago, we started a charity with the company that I work with. And, my CEO he's just an amazing guy, and said, you know what, our military serves us. It's our turn to serve them. And so he allowed us to create this charity. It was small back in 2012, but now, unfortunately 2020 kind of most of our events were canceled just because of the pandemic and COVID and stuff. But before this year, we were doing 35 to 50 events a year and giving service dogs to veterans and just doing everything that we could to really serve our community. So I love it. I love that work. I love being there. I love feeling like we're giving back to our veterans in a tangible way. And service dogs are tangible. When you give a dog away on stage, you can see the bond, you know. And I think it's particularly powerful because the audience sees it too, and then they get bought in, So I love it. This charity, I'm a small part of it, but just does amazing work. And hopefully in 2021 we can really get rocking and rolling again with it.
That's really cool. Well, Sean, you're doing so much, and I just want to thank you for your time. And I want people to be sure to pick up your latest book, Sean Parnell's One True Patriot. It is a great, great book. I'm telling you, you got to pick up the whole series. You can read the books independently. I'm encouraging you not to do that. I'm really waiting for the movies to come out. That's what I'm really hoping, is that the movies come out on this.
I am too. I am too. I love One True Patriot. Like I love this book, and I'm excited to share it because it's the part of the story that you're talking about is something I've been waiting to write since book one. Now I'm writing more about it in book 4. So I'm super excited about it.
It's so cool. Well, guys, be sure you pick up his latest book. Be sure you check out American Warrior Initiative as well. And for those who are ready to answer the call, guys and gals, our brothers and sisters who are ready to transition and looking for that new sense of mission and purpose, be sure you check out what we're doing at Operation Military Family and our transition training. It really is about understanding who you want to be after you get out of the military. And Sean, you are the definition of that. You defined yourself.
Thank you,
know
sir.
who you want to be. And you're going after it, and you're making a difference. And for that, we just give you the top Bravo Zulu. And truly thank you for being on our show.
Thank you. Appreciate the time. And anytime, I'll be there for you.
Wonderful. Thanks, Sean.
All right. Thank you.